Fractions. Can you believe? It's time. Unit 5 is on fractions. Yes, it is. Lesson 5-1, we're going to be introducing and getting reacquainted with fractions. We're going to review a lot of what we did last year, so be ready for it. Here we go. Okay. Turn in your books to page 179. All right. Remember, fractions are part of a whole. They are the numbers we use to represent the values between 0 and 1. Okay. We break up a whole number into parts. How many parts we break it into becomes the denominator, the bottom number of the fraction, and the number of parts that we're using or have or are indicating is the numerator, the top of the fraction. Let's look at these together. Number 1, the head is what fraction of the whole worm? Well, the whole worm is broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts. And the head is one of those 6 parts. The head is 1/6 of the whole worm. Okay, now it says to draw a worm, for number 2, it says draw a worm whose head is 1/7 of the whole. Well, if we're going to draw 1/7, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts of the worm because the denominator is 7, and we're going to make the head one of those parts, 1/7. Okay? Try number 3, 4, 5, and 6 on your own. Pause the video, and we'll come back and check those answers in a moment. All right, number 3 says divide this circle into fourths and shade 1/4. We need to cut it in half and cut that half in half again and shade 1/4. It doesn't matter which fourth you shade, as long as you shade one of the 4 equal parts. Remember, the other part is when you're doing fractions, the denominator has to be divided into equal parts. So the worm has to be 6 equal parts, 7 equal parts. The circle has to be divided into 4 equal parts. Okay? Now it says this triangle is 1/2. Make the whole. Well, we make the other triangle that completes this shape, and that triangle is half of a square or rectangle. Okay. Now this donut is 1/6 of the group. Move this up a little bit. Draw the rest of the group of donuts. If this donut is 1/6, we need 5 other donuts, so there's 6 total, and the donut that's there is 1/6 of the group. Okay, number 6, this is one whole group, circle 2/5, so that's one whole group, it's made up of 5, we circle 2 parts of it, 1, 2, or we could also just circle 2 together. Okay, either way, if you circled 2 individual people, no matter which 2 you circled, or if you circled 2 with one circle, you'd have the right answer. All right. Basics of fractions. This should be review. Let's move on. Look at number 7. What fraction of all your fingers are your thumbs? First, we have to decide how many fingers we have total. Both hands, we have 5 on each hand. That's 10 total fingers. How many thumbs do we have? We have 2. Number 8. What fraction of the apples was eaten? Well, how many total apples were there to start? There were 7. How many were eaten? That would be 3. Okay, again, now I want you to look at 9, 10, 11, and 12. Pause the video, complete 9, 10, 11, and 12, and then we'll come back with the answers. All right, let's look at number 9. I've circled the 3 fish that Alta caught. Okay, and that becomes the numerator, and then I count the total number of fish altogether, and that was a total of 10 fish. So 3 that Alta caught was 3 out of the 10 total fish caught. That's 3/10. Okay, same thing for Hewitt. What fraction of the corn did Hewitt eat? There were 2 corns that Hewitt ate, so that's 2 out of how many total corn? That was 9. There were 9 total corn, so 2/9. Let's look at number 11. Now we're adding fractions. Tim ate 2/5 of the grapes and Kate ate 1/5. Well, if they were parts of the denominator is 5, we have to have 5 total grapes in the group. Okay, then we can say that Tim ate 2/5 of them. Kate ate 1/5. What fraction of the grapes did he eat altogether? That's a total of 3 out of the 5 grapes. Okay, and we'll get into remembering when you add and subtract fractions, the denominator stays the same, and we add or subtract the numerators. 12, Camila made 5 paper chain links, and Mito made 4. What fraction of the 20-link chain have they made so far? Okay, so if they're making a total of a 20-link chain, Camila made 5 out of the 20, and Mito made 4 out of the 20, and that equals, denominator stays the same, 5 plus 4 is 9/20 of the chain so far. All right, let's turn the page. Now we're going to focus on what's called a unit fraction. On page 180, the definition of a unit fraction is 1 equal part of a whole. In other words, it is a fraction with a 1 as the numerator. 1/2 is a unit fraction. 1/3, 1/4. All those unit fractions because it has 1 part of the whole group when you break up the group. So we look at number 13. The denominator here, there are 5 in the group. The unit fraction, the 1 out of the 5. Okay, 14 would be 1 out of the 3. 15, write down pause the video and write down the unit fraction for 15 and 16. Go. Okay, so 15, the unit fraction would be 1 out of the 4, and 16, 1 out of the 7. Now number 17 says write the non-unit fractions. What they want you to do is write the part that's not shaded, the non-unit fraction part. Okay, so I'm going to do some black. I'll look at number 13. There are, again, denominators 5. This is for 17. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 parts not shaded. So what's the rest of the fraction? Notice it's the rest of it. Okay, 14. There are 2 parts not shaded out of the 3. Okay, now what I want you to do for 15 and 16 is write the, again, non-unit fraction, or what's the part that's not shaded? What part of the whole is that? Pause the video and do that. All right, on 15 we have 1, 2, 3 parts out of the 4 not shaded, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stars out of the 7 not shaded. Notice if I add these together, they would equal 5/5 for 13. If I add these together on 14, they'd equal 3/3. Add these together, 4/4. Add 16 together, 7/7. They'd equal 1 whole, or the whole group. Okay? Unit fraction, the non-unit fraction, the part, the rest of the group. Okay, turn the page, or no, don't turn the page. Go down to the bottom of the page. Okay, looking at 18, we're going to make 2/7 out of the unit fraction that's there. How do I make 2/7? Well, I'm going to identify 1/7 and 1/7. When I put that together, get that out of the way so we can see. When I put those together, 1/7 and 1/7, that is 2/7. I make 2/7 by saying 1/7, the unit fraction, plus another unit fraction equals 2/7. Okay, how would I make 4/5? I take 4 of those 5 parts and I write them out. 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 equals 4/5. So I can make fractions by adding up the unit fractions that build up to them. And now again we get to that part of adding fractions, which is review from last year. If we take a whole part, 2/6 plus 3/6, we keep the denominator here the same, and we add the numerators like we would add whole numbers. 2 plus 3 equals 5. The visual there is at the top. There's an imaginary 6th part to make it one whole, if we want to make it one whole. Just like we would take 2 1s plus 3 1s equals 5 1s, that is exactly what we're doing on the top of the fraction. Once we get to make sure the denominator is the same, we can then just add the numerators or subtract them. Okay? So number 20, answering head number 20, how is adding fractions like adding whole numbers? Adding the numerators is just like adding the whole numbers. How is it different? We have to put that over the like denominator. Okay, write that in for your answer. Pause the video and then we'll move on. Okay. On the homework, you're going to have to do problems. Let me show you. You're going to have to do problems like, here's a box. This is 1/3, this is 1/3, and this is 1/3. And it's going to ask you to make an equation showing you the box. Well, this is 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3, and that equals, again, the denominator is 3. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. The whole box, 1 whole, is 3/3. Remember, 3/3 is equal to 1 whole. Okay, those are some of the problems that you'll have to do on your homework, or it might give you a box like this one. Let me do it a little bit bigger. Do it 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. Whoopsie, that's not a 1. And it might ask you to say, add the parts that are circled. And you would have to write down that that part, first part in black, is 2/4. Part is circled in blue is 1/4. When you add those together, that equals 3/4, because together, that is 3/4 of the whole. All right, and that moves us on to what the homework assignment is. Okay, today you have homework and remembering 5-1, and you have IXL, make sure you get it right, K.1. Okay, so it's a fraction review. It should be a simple one. Okay, homework remembering 5-1 and IXL K.1. Good luck. Get busy.